Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of CRFI, CrazySte reviews from the inside. This week I was traveling for work and I have been given a different rental car than usual. This time it's a Jeep Renegade. Specifically, this is a Jeep Renegade Limited, which is one of the two top trim levels for this car. There is the Limited and Trailhawk. The main difference between the two is that the Limited is more for luxurious, whereas the Trailhawk has more functions for off-road riding. In fact, it has a rock feature, and it does have suspensions that have a little longer travel, and they're a little bit more reinforced than this version. But other than that, these cars, they're just about identical, and the interiors, really, it's impressive. It really looks beautiful, and I can tell that there has been the hands of the Italians in this car. In case you don't know, Fiat acquired the Jeep a few years ago. The entire group, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, was acquired by Fiat, and the interiors of all the Jeeps have been designed by the Lancia division of Fiat, which Lancia is the luxury division of the group. And I'm going to show you just this dashboard. It's so neat. It gives you so much information when you power up the car. The first time I was almost feeling overwhelmed, but it took me very little to get used to it, and it's really nice. It gives you so much stuff. I mean, you just scroll through some of the screens, and that gives you an idea of all the stuff that you can see on this display. So they really did a nice job with the design, and it just about repeats on everything in this car. All the vents, they have different nice shapes. The vents in here, they create a little bit of discontinuity to avoid having any flat surfaces. Really, the only part that I'm not too thrilled by is the radio. It kind of sits there. It looks like they smacked it there and glued it there. It doesn't feel like it blends in as well with the rest of the interior, but you can tell that everything has been really detailed. All the buttons, they have different shapes. Even the knobs, they're very nice to the touch. They're beautiful, really. Even the way that they click, it's just nicely done as far as the details. And to give an idea how much the Lancia group went into designing, you can see in here they put this little grill of the Jeep CRJ7, reminding of the old Jeep Willys. And you can find emblems like this all around the car. You can see in here again on the mirror. You can see it over there on the on the windshield. You can see that there is a Jeep Willys. Even on this tray down here, they made a map of Moab, and you can see that the emblem is called again. I mean, it's just well done. And I don't know if you noticed, the windshield is far. Even if I stretch my arm all the way out, I cannot touch. I'm like a foot away from him. It really makes you feel safe. And it's kind of neat because when I first started driving this car, it really gave me a weird sensation. I got on the road and it feels like you're driving a block of concrete on the road. It's neat. The suspensions, they feel nicely firm. You can tell that Fiat has been investing a lot in the new handling center in Michigan, where they test the cars for better handling. And this car really feels like he handles good. To be a Jeep, he really handles nicely. And I've been enjoying it. I rented it for a week right now. I drove well over 1,000 miles. Soon I'm going back to the airport. The car drives well. Right now, I was driving on a gravel road. So I just got out of the interstate not long ago. So I was driving in sand mode, like this, which on the display is gonna show like this, sand, see? And I was having some fun. So, personally, I don't like to drive with the stability control active, so I just press this button, and if you press and hold it, see, now I press the traction control disabled, and now by holding electronically, stability control disabled. So I was driving with the stability control disabled, and I was enjoying it. I mean, when you drive on a gravel road, the car is going to eventually slip here and there, and let's be honest, I was just having fun with it and try to counter steer and stuff, and I was really having fun with the stability control disabled. But for some unknown reason, I really don't know why, all of a sudden the system reactivated itself and it steered the car in the opposite direction of where I was going. It basically almost threw me down the ditch. It's not here where it happened somewhere else. It was just not a nice sensation. I want the car to do what I want, not what she wants. I know that there are a bunch of software engineers that worked in the software of the stability control, but I want to drive the car. They can sit behind the computer and do whatever they want. I want to be the driver. So if when I press this button, the car tells me that the stability control is off, and there it goes, ESC disabled, electronic stability control disabled, I drive without expecting the returns back on. Honestly, I tested it on the Fiat 500X. It was not as intrusive as on this car, but the Fiat 500X had the chance to test it on the snow. I couldn't complain much, it was working well. In this car, it was very intrusive, at least in the sand mode. It got really intrusive. So you press this button and it tells you that the stability control is off. That's a lie. They need to fix it. So they should either make the stability control turn off all the way, or modify this button so that it says stability control partially disabled, and not a button in here that says stability control off all the way. Kill it off once and for all. And there is the button there. It's just a matter of making it pressable. So that's something the Fiat really needs to do. Other than that, the car is really nice. I love the interiors. It's much bigger than it looks. When you look at the car from the outside, you don't expect it to be this big. It's very spacious, very, very wide. It's big. Even, like I said, it's so far away, the windshield from you, makes you feel safe and feels really firm. And making a car like this to sell all around the world is quite a challenge. In fact, Fiat has been selling this car all over the world, just identical, and it's not easy because, let's face it, I mean, every country has different laws, they have different speed limits. How do you make a car fuel efficient everywhere? Fiat figured out to do it with the gear shifter, the 9-speed automatic transmission, which just about adapts to every speed, but in some countries you basically will never see the upper gears, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. But driving here in the States, I was not too impressed. Not by the gear shifter. The gear shifter really works great. I was not impressed by the gas mileage that I obtained. So this is a rental car. I picked her up with regular fuel. I started driving, and I drove just about 80% of the times on highway in this week that I have had this car. And with regular fuel, at the beginning, I was getting about 26 to the gallon, 25.5. I did the calculation by dividing the miles that I've driven by the amount of gallons that I filled up. Then I filled it up twice with premium fuel. Well, on premium fuel, I was able to get 29 miles to the gallon. I got 29 miles to the gallon when I was driving at 75 miles an hour on cruise control. At that speed, with the cruise activated, the car sets itself in 8th gear, and I was getting about 29 to the gallon. The 9th gear I saw only when I was in one of those states that allowed me to drive with the cruise control at 85 miles an hour. At 85 miles an hour, the car set itself in 9th gear, but, at 85, the mileage was down again to about 26. But this was on premium fuel. With the premium fuel, the car was able to get to 29 to the gallon at 75 miles an hour. And that's really what they should advertise this car for. Fiat claims that this car will do 31 miles to the gallon. I really don't see it happening. They should say that you can reach the mileage only if you use premium fuel, which is fine. It's totally okay. This car has such a small fuel tank. All the times that I filled up, I put about 11.5 gallons of fuel. So we're talking about a $2 difference per fill up. But you gain about 3-4 miles to the gallon with the premium fuel. So you catch those $2 back really quick. Now, I'm on the last fill up and soon I'm going to return the car. So I put back regular fuel and my gas mileage dropped down to 25.9. 25.9 driving at 75 miles an hour. I know the EPA tests the car as 65. but there is no point. I mean, the reality is that most of the states you're going to travel at 75 miles an hour, and that's what I'm getting with this car. On a car like this, I was expecting at least 31 miles to the gallon. It's very disappointing, honestly. The gear shifter does an amazing job. I'm impressed. Although sometimes it tries to engage the next gear too early, and you see the engine dropping down to like 1500 RPMs. When it does that, the car kind of vibrates. You can see that it's making an effort. This 2.4 liter engine likes to be above 2000 RPMs at all times. And it drives pretty good. He has a good grunt with his 180 horsepower. But ultimately, the gas mileage is very bad for this type of car. They should do something better. And the pity is that Fiat makes some of the best diesel engines, and they make the most efficient small diesels in the world. In fact, the Renegade is sold in many other countries like Europe and South America, actually continents. You're going to find this car sold with a 2-liter diesel multi-jet with 170 horsepower, so 10 horsepower less than this one. The diesel multi-jet, it's a Fiat technology for the diesels, and it's amazingly efficient, very performing. And the Jeep Renegade with the 2-liter diesel multi-jet does almost 50 miles to the gallon. Now, that's mileage. That's a good mileage for a car like this. Not the 25.9 miles to the gallon that I've been getting traveling today over 200 miles on the highway. That's really bad. I'm not impressed with that. The car is so beautiful, but there are two flaws that they make me thoroughly scratch off any possibility of buying it. The first thing that really angers me is this button in here. It claims that it turns off the ESC, but it doesn't. That needs to be fixed. This button needs to turn off the electronic stability control, or they need to add a button here that cuts it off. One of the two, but you have to have a way to effectively disable the stability control for drivers that like to drive without it. And secondly, they badly need to bring the diesel engine on this car. It really needs it. That mileage is not good enough for a car like this. It's a pity, because other than that, the rest is really beautiful. I really like the design on the inside, and I love the traveling in this car. Thanks for watching. Ciao!